What's going on, everybody? It is Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show, as well as Aftershocks TV, and just wanted to remind you before we get to this next episode that my first ever book, Little Victories, A Tale of Divorce, Debauchery, and Finding Happiness, is still available on Amazon.com and at my website, Chris Aiken Books. If you're going through a divorce or a bad breakup or whatever, this is going to be surprising because it's not just me telling dick jokes, but it's a fun book, but it's a very heartfelt book, and it's one that, if you've gone through anything ugly, you can definitely relate to it, and maybe it'll help you get through it if you're going through it right now. So check it out, Little Victories. It is available now, Amazon.com or Chris Aiken Books. You know what else is available right now? This episode that you actually came here to see.
Great. All right. We're back here with another episode of Aftershocks on AftershocksTV.com. And our guest on today's episode from Pennsylvania hard rock heavyweights Crobot. We've got guitarist Chris Bishop here with us today. Chris, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on with us.
Oh, what up, man? I'm at the house now. I'm searching for a nice big cup for a cold brew coffee.
Okay. Any whiskey in that coffee?
Well, it's 12:40. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's about time.
Let's do it. Yeah, why not? What else do I have to do today?
There you go. Hell yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on. And let's get to it, man. I mean, you guys are releasing your new EP, Rat Child, that comes out June 18th on Mascot, and more importantly, you just released
Mountain.
Other than Frank Bello from Anthrax, man. Yeah. Killer track, man. Great song. Love the chorus and the hooks on that song, too. So I guess just start us off by talking about your collaboration with Frank on the track and what did he contribute to the song? How did you guys sort of come together to put this together?
So we share like management and booking companies. So and we've done tours with Anthrax in the past. So Frank's been a fan, just like a straight up fan for a while. And so we've been close with him, and he's always said we should write a song together. And then one time he's like, dude, I've got this riff and a melody I think is like the fucking most killer Crobot song. And I was like, all right, send it to me. So we started going back and forth. Initially, I was like, dude, that is the reason that sounds like a Crobot riff is like, it is one of our riffs. I was like, that's exactly La Mano de Lucifer, which is one of our songs. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I was like, let's not think about it too much. We worked the song out, and like now you can't even tell. You know what I mean? I'm the only one that really notices. But yeah, I mean, he had that verse vocal melody and just the main riff of the song, and we sent it to Brandon, and he put the chorus. Or actually, I did the chorus music, and then we sent it to Brandon, and yeah, that was basically immediately what he came back with was that chorus, and we all fell in love with it. But yeah, Frank's the man. He's a phenomenal bass player. It's just like it's so cool to hear him playing on a Crobot track when I usually do all the bass for most Crobot stuff. Mm-hmm. On the record and during the demo process, I'll usually demo everything out myself, you know. Mm-hmm. And like just having him play on it, like sounds so different from like a guitar player that plays bass. Like he's just such a phenomenal bass player, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, another great track that's on the EP as well is the one right after that, which is Kiss It Goodbye. Features another big name in the metal world, and that's the great Howard Jones. That's a real heavy banger, that one, man. That's a real heavy tune. So, once again, I guess tell us how you guys hooked up with Howard for Kiss It Goodbye.
Our manager, Mel, she was she knows Howard and mentioned possibly linking up, and he liked the band, and so we started just texting back and forth and hanging out, and we're not hanging out, but just sort of like be like, hey man, let's make this work. And we had him come to Austin, which is where I live now, And yeah, like flew in. He stayed at my house for a couple days, and we wrote like 3 or 4 songs. But when we got, well, this was before I'd given him a bunch of different songs, and they were all really cool. But like the music was just like stuff I had laying around. I was just like, hey, if you hear anything here, and he made all those like songs like really good, you know. But when Howard was at the house, we were working on that riff just that morning, and I was like, dude, this is like way better than anything we've sent you. I was like, let's work on that. So we built that song from scratch in one day with Howard there. Howard's like, all right. He's like, send me the music. He's like, can I walk your dog? And I was like, yeah, dude. I had a greyhound at the time. I was like, she never gets enough walk. But he like walked my dog and wrote lyrics while he listened to it. Came back and had like the amazing melodies and stuff. And yeah, most of the lyrics stayed too. I remember he came back and him and Brandon worked on the lyrics, fine-tuned a few things, but kept the whole sort of like the lyrics are just badass and about being a dick and fucking just like, you know, being brutal, you know. Mm-hmm. And we loved that vibe. And yeah, he comes in on the bridge, or after the bridge comes in, Howard sings a verse. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier, you know, that he helped make that song what it is, but also like wanted to be on the track with us, because I'm a huge Howard fan.
Sure. Yeah, no, he's a great singer, man. And yeah, it just, you know, to those 2 songs, I mean, to start off this EP, you just really kick ass. And, you know, and then of course you guys go into something a little different with Everyone Dies, which is definitely a little bit different. I think I read in the press release, was sort of your guys says,
oh, sorry.
You need a healthy portion of meatloaf, which I think is, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there you come out a little bit. All I heard was when you come back and said healthy portion of meatloaf, and I was like, yeah, dude.
Well, I was referring, to the song "Everyone Dies," that you guys quoted as being sort of a mix between a Queen and a Meatloaf song.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is it's definitely a little different. I mean, so I you know, I guess my question is, you know, I was reading that a lot of these tracks were sort of songs that didn't make the cut on Mother Brain, which was kind of, I mean, Mother Brain I thought was, you know, no doubt your guys' best record, and you know, but these are great tracks. And my whole thing was, how were these songs left off that record? Did you guys sort of keep these like in your sort of back pocket in case you wanted to do an EP like this if it was needed, or?
No, I mean, we were bummed that these songs didn't make it, but you gotta think, like, between the, you know, Fat City and Mother Brain, we had quite a bit of time, like 3 years or something. So we have so many other songs too that like haven't made any records that we absolutely love, that, you know, hopefully we would get to use. But the thing is when we recorded Mother Brain with Corey, we went into it being like, hey, listen, and Corey said this first thing first, is like, I don't give a shit who played on what, you know, who wrote what, like whatever songs you guys think are going to be on the record, he's like, just erase it. He's like, because let's just start from scratch and see what is vibing. Not start from scratch, but like, let's listen to all the songs in the room together. Let's jam them. And let's see just what feels good in the moment. And as we started doing that, there were times where like, okay, well, you know, certain songs wouldn't fit the vibe. You know, Rat Child was one of those that almost made it but didn't, because we felt we needed a funky track on Mother Brain. And we ended up going with Alpha Dog instead, because we thought that was just a little more unique. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. Like we were hoping that we would be, at the very least, be able to put these tracks on like a deluxe edition or something. But Yeah, I mean, we didn't even record these tracks with Corey at the time. They were all demoed out. And then while I was in Austin, I recorded these tracks, Everything But Everyone Dies. I recorded them with my buddy Alberto de Casa, who's a mixer, producer, mastering guy, engineer. And he worked with us on the first record, Something Supernatural, or actually the second record. Yeah, with Machine. He was the Machine's right-hand guy. So he's been my best friend since then. But.
Very cool. So then what exactly is Rat Child as an EP? Is it something to fill the gap because of the pandemic before a new full length, or is it just that you just?
Yeah, I think it's that. It is that, but it's not. I don't think it's like lack of quality.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? But it's not like the left. I wouldn't like, even though these songs, not Everyone Dies wasn't, but some of these songs were, written before. I still think they would have seen the light of day because we wrote these songs with people that we loved, and there's other songs we did with other dudes that, are featuring, tracks featuring so and so, which will probably be on other records as well. But that being said, these were the easiest for us to like re-record and get like ready for release.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and and mainly because they were already all done. Most of the demo tracks that we had were like to a point to where we could have released them, but we went and I re-recorded guitars. Dan, our drummer, we recorded his drums at the machine shop in Dripping Springs, and Alberto did all that, and we got him sounding really good. But that it was definitely the easiest thing we could have done release-wise during 2020, because recording a record was just going to be ridiculously hard,
Right. And yet, interestingly enough, where everybody else has had trouble recording, here you come not only recording, but recording with 3 different outside guys between Styx and Howard Jones and Frank Bello.
Yeah, and I mean, it's and like I said, I mean, Howard had those, Everything But Frankie, they had already recorded.
Right.
So it was, even though I say that, but, Howard, he recut his vocals in Canada or wherever he was at the time at a studio. So, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. But everyone still sort of like did their own things. And I was lucky enough to be like a mile, and I've been quarantining with Alberto. So like I'm a mile away from Alberto. We were able to do, and our drummer's in Austin. So we were able to get everything cleaned up and nice and record guitars at his house. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it like helped me helped me not go crazy here in 2020.
Right. Definitely. Now, Chris, I mean, anybody that has followed Crobot for a while now knows you guys are touring dogs. I mean, you guys are, if you're not on tour, you're planning to go on tour, is the way I've always looked at it. This last year had to absolutely kill you, no?
It was really hard because, like, 2011 we started playing Crobot and building and touring for like no money, like really $200 a night. We were taking stuff, taking shows for years in the beginning. And now we just started making money and like paying our bills with all our tour expenses, and then it just stopped. So, everyone had hardships and stuff, financially, but it was a little, it was a curveball trying to figure out how we were going to pay our bills, just the band bills that we acquired, and not bankrupt the band. But we figured it out. And I say we when it's like Brandon figured it out, because Brandon's the money guy, and I'm so thankful for that. I can't count to 10 without using my fingers.
Sure. I don't know that. Well, Chris, Crobot was, one of the first bands, that really started to lead the charge right around 2010 with that sort of revival back to the the blues based hard rock sort of sound.
Yeah, yep.
Other bands like Rival Sons and Monster Truck have been there too, but now you've got a whole second wave of this going on. You've got Greta Van Fleet, you got Dirty Honey, even got another band, another small town band from Pennsylvania called Small Town Titans that's really making waves too. Talk a bit about just your experiences when you guys were first, coming up, playing a sound which, at that time was considered pretty nostalgic and outdated, but now has really become sort of the way forward for rock music, I mean, globally at this point.
Yeah. It's it's cool, right? It's cool when you look back and you're like, wow, we were in the first wave of what kickstarted that, I think, again. And, it's, of course, like you'll see bands that got huge and are just like the Greta Van Fleets out there. And I'm not going to lie to say that there's a bit of jealousy, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. But I'm happy that at least they're keeping rock and roll relevant, right? Like we are, like our community as a whole. We're still playing guitars and we're still playing rock and roll and riffs, and that's important to us and our fans. And so regardless of who's doing it, if you like Greta Van Fleet, if you like whoever else or not, like at least it's rock and roll. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I'm so grateful for that, because shit, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for waves of these bands, then rock and roll it wouldn't be the same. Like a lot of modern rock leans more towards like just straight ahead pop or rap, or there's a lot of like there's flavors that just to me isn't rock and roll in quotations. You know what I mean? Like blues based rock is rock and roll to me. So yeah, I mean, and that's exciting. We went and saw Dirty Honey when they were in town. My manager wanted to take me. I never even listened to the band. I was just like Jesus, they are to Aerosmith what Greta is the Zeppelin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so cool. That's like, man, they're doing it awesome. Like they're killing that, which is, and from my perspective, I'm like, awesome. Keep doing that. Greta, keep doing the Zeppelin thing. And Crobot will do whatever the fuck Crobot is. I don't know what it is or what that correlates with. There's a lot of different correlations, but I feel like everybody has their own sort of lane. You know what I mean? And that's pretty cool.
Sure.
Do you think that there's actually a road back for rock to come back to total prominence, like the bands that were listed, the Aerosmiths and the Zeppelins and whatnot? Do you think that it could come back with another, I don't know, 10, 15 bands like Dirty Honey or you guys or Rival Sons, et cetera, or do you think that era might not come back?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think that era will come back, because I think there was everything. To me, like what made that era what it was that everything was so new. Like I remember Robert Plant was saying something like, he's like, yeah, it was fucking crazy. Like we weren't acting like rock stars. We were just acting like young kids who had a lot of money and were, rocking and fucking all night. They're like, it was just because there was no rule book then. Like they wrote it, So it was just sort of like, and even through the 80s, like when it got even more extreme, like it, there wasn't like a rock and roll playbook. Like they sort of wrote it as it went. Now I think people are just sort of like trying to just go to the rock playbook and do that, where it's like, it's not new, it is nostalgic. That being said, I still think that there will be more bands that come that are old school and retro and awesome, but it's not going to be the same. It's the same, it's like, yeah, Zeppelin and Greta Van Fleet musically are very similar,
Sure.
but it's not the same. And a lot of it has to do with just the feel, the spirit of where that comes from, and that's something that we'll never have that again. So I think that's why we should cherish those records, like all those old, everything, Floyd, Zeppelin, like they were the pioneers of sound, like when the stuff they were doing with synths and shit like that, that was just the newest thing. Like it's almost like nowadays electronic music and that kind of music is pushing the boundaries of sound and what popular music can be.
Right.
So it's hard to say, but that's why I think everyone loves the old stuff so much, is because it was just like, it was new and no one knew what the fuck was going on. That was what was so cool about it.
Right. And what's interesting is the other thing that I think hurts now is so many of the people that should be liking this kind of music, should be loving the Dirty Honeys or you guys or Greta or whatever. They've got this purist mentality of, well, it's not Zeppelin, so I can't listen to it, and that's bullshit.
Right.
It's like,
it is bullshit.
Because
I completely agree.
And nobody listened before Zeppelin. Nobody had anything to listen to. Now that you got a band that's, related to it, you would think that people would be like, cool, finally something new. But
right. And I think, man, some of it, like, because I've had this specific conversation with many of my musician friends, and like some people love Greta and think they're awesome, and some people are like don't. Yeah. And the reason, and some of them, the ones that don't, it all stems from like, okay, well, when I was learning guitar and when I was their age or 15 years old or whatever, when I was first picking up guitars and taking it seriously, I learned all this stuff. I learned all the Zeppelin songs. Right. And there was a point where I could have chose to completely rip it off, or I could choose to like not and be creative. And I think that's one of those things. Like, yeah, they do it well, but I could also say, like, I sang with Brandon, or I played with Brandon in a cover band, and we did Zeppelin songs, and it sounded exactly like Robert Plant. Because he has that timbre in his voice to where he can do impressions really well and stuff like that. There was a point where we could have like just straight up ripped off Zeppelin, but we chose not to. We chose to try to be creative and do something different. And I think that that's what it stems from with musicians hating on it. But that being said, I firmly believe that everything is derivative. And like Crobot, for example, I can't tell you how many songs we have that I'm like, oh yeah, that's just straight up a clutch riff. Subconsciously just built into my DNA. You know what I mean? Sure. And there's a lot of that. So, I'm on the side where it's like, dude, who gives a shit? Like it's like, how many ways can you play a pentatonic riff? You know what I mean? There's only so many ways.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely right, man. Well, for people that aren't closed-minded, there is new music from Crobot out there. The new EP is called Rat Child. It is when is it out? June?
June 18th.
Yes, I'm glad you knew that because I didn't even. Oh man, dates in the music industry are always getting pushed back, so I don't even know anymore.
Well, Chris, I'll tell you what, man, we're gonna let people search it out for themselves, but we want to thank you for coming on and joining us here on Aftershocks.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, man, it's nice to talk to you guys. And if you ever get bored, just hit me up, man. I'll be glad to talk to you again.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
That was great.
All right, we'll see you guys out there, dude.
All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Take care, man.
Right. See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.
All right, everybody, another great interview right here on Aftershocks TV. And before we go, just want to remind you one more time, make sure you get over and subscribe to the CMS Podcast Network, CMSPN.com. You can watch, you can listen, you can subscribe to everything that we do, not only us, but the Classic Metal Shows, Shockwave Skull Sessions, Talk to Me. It's all there, one site, get 4 great shows. Never have to do anything again but be entertained. So check it out, cmspn.com, cmspn.com, cmspn.com. Until next time, folks.